Renan Devillieres, what's your superpower and how does that serve your mission and to help others?
My superpower, I would say, system thinking. I'm good with understanding systems and then finding the right pressure points to change it.
Very good. Flywheel leadership is about discovering and practicing the leadership systems that bring out the best in each of us and our teams. What's a story from your experience that comes to mind that exemplifies exceptional or unique styles in leadership?
Uh, I would say automation hell when Tesla was like 6 weeks away from bankruptcy. And they put tents on the parking lot and started assembling cars out of a parking lot. The courage, creativity, grit needed to do that is just incredible. And I was fortunate enough to go there when it happened. People were happy. They loved every single minute of it.
Very cool. When there's meaning behind the mission, there's a lot more almost appreciation for some of that pain that goes into it because they know it's going to be worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. I took away from your firm, OSS Ventures, creating and investing in the future of operations. Very, very straightforward, very clean. Would love to hear from you on what that means to you and a little bit about OSS.
Yeah, sure. So we are a venture builder and investment funds. So our business model is to hold shares of very fast-growing tech startups operating for the operations world. The part that is kind of different is that instead of mostly investing in companies that already exist, we create companies that do not exist. So we go to the factories, we understand the pain points. When we see a pain point that we think is a great one to solve and that we can solve it with technology, we just go and create the company with founders. So it's a very different kind of very hands-on experience to create high growth startups. In 5 years, we started 30 projects, 22 became companies. We are live in 3,800 factories worldwide, 200,000 users. And it's just a start because we are 5 years old. So yeah, it's been a ride and we loved every minute of it. It's a good model.
That model is so different from a lot that you hear about. So could you tell me how that works when you're in a project, when you're evaluating whether it should be a project, I guess, to start with, what it takes to become a project and then going from that to a company, like just that journey. Could you kind of take us through how that process works when you're really evaluating things?
We usually look at 100 ideas for one project that we start. And we have the belief that creating a company and a startup and a tech startup is so hard and it's so expensive that you need to have a very, very high bar for starting. And so the way we look at things is we have that concept called 10x. And we say, okay, when we start something, it should be 10x better than the alternative. So if you're looking at research and development, it should not be like 10% better. It should be like 10 times faster, 10 times more information, 10 times better type of job for the one doing the R&D. Like it should be 10x because it's so hard creating a company. Manufacturers have so much on their plate that you cannot bother to do small things. And so there's two parts. One is the head. So we are a 20 people team and we have like 700 people in the companies. 70% of that is engineers. So it's an engineers company. So the head is very important. We look at numbers. We say, okay, time to market was 8 months. It can be 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. So there is a lot of numbers. There's also the heart. And so sometimes we decide because we think it's very important to work on something. And so the two parts are not equal, but if you don't have the two, we don't start the project.
Makes sense. What's the most fulfilling aspect of your work, Renan?
making others succeed. Like, we make factories win, we make founders win, we contribute to them creating something that was not in the world. We also help like people, like tech people should care more about the people in Tennessee, rural Tennessee, working night shifts. That's very fulfilling to have someone working night shifts who used to be minimum wage can get a few bucks more because the job just got suddenly more interesting and more leverage and they're creating more value and everything. That's the most satisfying thing in the world, seeing other people succeed.
How about what you're seeing with reshoring? You know, in hard tech, you're hearing a lot about reshoring, good quality manufacturing in the West. And for somebody sitting outside of that direct world, that sounds like a very long process. It sounds like not a bad idea, but is that realistic in a short order? And what is that balance of what we need to do today versus, you know, months, years from now? Could you kind of walk through your thought process on what that looks like and your role in that?
Yeah, sure. So first, reshoring is actually incorrect. It should be new shoring because the factories that we are putting in the US are not the factories that are in Thailand because the cost of labor is very different. And so it also goes to the product. Like when iPhones are going to be made in the US, it's going to be different iPhones. And so you need to think different because the world has changed. You cannot produce with cheap labor, thinking there will be no war and thinking everything will be fine. Like, that world died with COVID. So that's gone. The second thing that we are seeing is that so in the next 3 years, there will be more factories and operational sites built than in the previous 10 years combined. So reshoring right now is like the bottleneck is the speed of concrete. By the way, if you want to become a contractor for manufacturing sites construction, it's a very good business to be in for the next 3 years. And so our role in that movement is we want to see the West win. And we think that the previous model of offshoring everything to China, getting very bad quality jobs here in the US, getting everyone fired from the previous job, it was a very bad model. It bites us back, and now it's time to reshore. We cannot reshore while keeping our ways of living without technology. Let me take a very concrete example. If you go to Tesla, industrialization is made by like 10 guys paid $500,000 per year. But when they program a machine, they program the same machines in the Gigafactory from Austin, Shanghai, and Berlin. And so basically you're one guy and you're programming 50 machines. So you can be paid well. That is thanks to technology. And if you follow the model of Thailand, where there are like 6 guys programming half a machine each, you just cannot reshore like that. And so it won't happen. So our job is basically creating the tech that makes it possible and economical to reshore. And by the way, our biggest growth segment in the last 2 years has been defense. So infer from that what you want.
Yeah, very good. Definitely get that. Renan, when it comes to that mix of AI and hard tech and how they play together, you know, you see everything on the different new way of robotics, right? Where you're seeing multiple different companies with new models and you hear about, you know, autonomous drones and things of that nature. Can you walk us through anything that you want to highlight there on what you're seeing or what your role is in that specifically?
Yeah. So we invested in quite a few moonshots, and moonshots are, for example, humanoid robots, self-driving drones, everything. This will happen. This is happening. Probably the timeline is 10 years. And it's been 10 years that they are saying that self-driving is 3 years away. So it will happen. The timeline is mostly wrong in the headlines. What will happen and is already happening is a 60 to 80% productivity lift in non-direct labor positions. So for example, for a Boston-based manufacturer, we are talking from 35 planners to 5. Because AI is doing the job that was just repetitive and everything. And the job of the 5 who are left is fundamentally different. It's basically managing a system. It's almost data science and coding rather than just like running around with Excel files. And so that has already happened. That is happening. And probably this will be a huge part of the next 5 years.
Definitely. Now, what about from a leader point of view? When you look at the realities from your example, just as an example, I guess you're 35 planners down to 5, right? How do you coach founders or work with, standing up founders to think in that new way, as you said, just a different way of thinking? It's not always more people, it's a different way of doing things. Could you walk me through that?
It's really hard. And counterintuitively, I'd say that one of the most important skills of all the founders we're working with, but also of my team, my direct team and indirect teams, is creativity. You need to be able to infer from other verticals, other parts of the world, other people already leveraging AI, the first principles, and then be able to apply those first principles to factories and to environments that are different. For example, when we thought the product that does the planning productivity uplift, half of the core features were stolen from coders and coding workflows. And so you need to be creative enough to do that. It also requires a lot of empathy because it's a hard change. It's a very hard change. And so you need to have empathy for the user. And for example, one key question that we ask ourselves every day is, would you advise your daughter to take the job that you're creating? And that's a very profound question, because if the answer is no, you probably did not lift enough the role and the ambition for the role, and you're creating a world that you would not like to live in, and that's not good. And so it's a very tough thing to navigate because you need to be alone in the creativity exercise. Like, the planners won't invent the AI system that will do the work. And so you need to be bold enough to invent it, put it in place, and you need to be empathic enough for your thing to be used and creative. And so it's an accelerating process. It's very interesting. And it requires an interesting set of skills.
No doubt. Could you say that again about advising your daughter? I think that is a great comment.
Ethically, if I'm building a product that I would not advise my daughter to work with, I don't build the product. And that's very important because there will be probably less jobs in manufacturing in the US for like 10 times the output in 10 to 20 years. Uh-huh. But the jobs should be as fun as working in a tech company, as well paid as working in a tech company. Otherwise, it won't work. And so I'm meeting with maybe 3 to 5 manufacturing CEOs per week. They all have in the top 3 of their pain points, recruitment. And I consistently say to them, your pain point is not recruitment. Most of your organizations suck. You would not want your daughter to work in that organization. And it is lowly paid because you underinvested in technology. And so you cannot pay people well because they don't create enough value. So you don't have a recruitment problem. You have a system problem. And if you have enough courage, you should address this.
Makes sense. Thanks for going a little deeper on that. I think that's a really important concept for us to all think about as leaders.
Yeah.
What do you see as where we're going from here in the next, let's just say, the rest of this year? So like not 10 years out, the big thing, right? We can all like dream about that, right? And we see that it's going to become a reality. What about what's in store for the rest of 2026 in your view?
So for OSS, we have the US bureau and expanding meaningfully in the US will double our growth. So things are going very fast on our end. What I see from manufacturing is that the first companies are posting the first real results, like P&L moving results. Like changing the organization and everything. It's roughly 10% of the manufacturing companies we talk to. So 90% is failing. I have a big question, which is the 10% who are posting massive results are already reaping the benefits, but maybe the 90% failure rate will make it so the bubble will pop and we have 3 years of very hard moments before getting back. So there's the internet bubble hypothesis saying everything was true except the timing. And so that could happen. That could happen. But the technology is profound and it will change the world. It's already changing the world, just not at the rate that is compatible with the current level of investment.
I resonate strongly with that thought process of, the change in the medium to long term is going to be tremendous. And the positivity, generally speaking, right, is going to be a lot of upside.
Yeah.
But when you say the hard moments in that short run, right, when you look at the change that we go through with technology, whether it was the Industrial Revolution, whether it was, the internet, whatever, mobile, there's always hard moments that are there. And the question is, how hard is this moment going to be compared to those, right? Industrial Revolution may be the most closely aligned people impact when it comes to the short run hard moments. That we're all kind of bracing ourselves for in some form, right? So
and there was that gang in the 1900s, beginning of the century. It was called the Luddites, and it was a gang of factory workers, and they would go at night in the factories and they would break the machines that were taking their jobs. I'm very surprised that we don't have AI Luddites yet, but I fully expect something like that going on.
Always going to be a nefarious actor at some point, and regardless of what you built. Right?
Exactly.
For sure. When it comes down to that leader side and how you manage through this, could you share a little bit more about what your conversations look like with your own team and trying to keep that forward-looking focus on the technology and the positivity and the general track forward that is generally positive, right? Versus some of those short-term, more challenges.
Yep. So we have three very important. So I'm a systems guy. I love systems. I love the systems to work. So we have three extremely important pieces of the system. The first is our values. And so our values, there are 7 values, but under the 7 values, there are 2 pages per value explaining in very detailed what it means. So for example, one is build something the world needs. And so we have 2 pages about what we think the world needs, what it means to be a builder and not a talker, and everything. And so that's my way of people behaving the same way, even if I'm not in the room. So that's the first part of the system. The second part of the system is a document called The Way We Work. And so the way we work goes also in a lot of details about what we do, what we don't do, how we build, who we build for, how we do it, and everything. So that's the second very, very big thing. And then we love that part of the system, and we know it's controversial, and we have job desks for everyone and everything, but more importantly, we have good product managers do and bad product managers do. And so we have that list of things and behaviors and way to think and ethical and everything. And so those 3 documents, we review them 2 times per year. So we do a review. We say, okay, what was done during those 6 months? What was a good thing? What was the bad thing? Where did we fail? What was suboptimal processes? Where was tension and everything? And we update those documents. I get the final word on what to put on the documents, but it's more largely the team that make proposal. And so we've been doing that for the last 4 years. And so now we have a very robust way of aligning the behaviors and everything. And so most of the conversations that I have with my team are coaching conversations and having conversations about, is it aligned with the way we work and the values? What do you think of that? How do you think about it? Are you okay with that? And everything. And so For example, last week we had a conversation because we are reducing a quality team in a Turkish factory from 250 to like 30 people. And so that was a conversation, how to go about it, how to talk with the leaders, how to do it ethically and everything.
Very good. What's one thing you've changed your mind on over the span of your life and career?
So many things. So many things. So a very big one, I would say, is I graduated as a mathematician and computer science major. I went to the OECD like as a economics researcher. And it was like, okay, if you want to change the world, if you want to have impact, you need to be like a researcher, invent a new thing, like academia, and then everything will be grand. And I changed my mind quite a bit for that. It's a lot of different things. There's a lot of way. The world is messy and you can have outsized impact. We are very proud to be impacting the life of 200,000 people. And there are a lot of ways to impact. My preferred way is to be a builder.
Yeah, definitely. Renan, if you had a billboard to have a message to those new founders or up and coming founders, those to be founders, that next level that is coming up that is really trying to break through with that new idea or to really find their way in technology, what would be your advice for them?
I would say go big, start small. That would be the most thing. Like have the grand vision, the 10 years, look for the 10x and go to the factory today. Don't create a pitch deck or a website or whatever. No, go to the factory. Just look at the thing, be humble, listen to the thing, start small. It always compounds. But don't forget to dream big, always. That's really the thing.
I love that. Go to the factory today.
Yeah,
there's so much you learn just by walking around. Even being, not an engineer from a technical background like to that level, there's so much truth to that. Just going to see it, you learn so much, and can connect with not only the people but also just seeing the process and systems, technology in action.
I have a number for you. We ran the number recently. We physically went to 940 factories, my team and I. We are a 20 people team.
And that's just the last year or what?
That's the last 4 years.
Last 4 years. Okay. That makes sense. That's impressive. Wow.
And I mean, it's the only way to know. And what I love about being a builder is that you build and then you release to the world. And if the world shuts you up, then you're not a builder. You're just someone who created something that is not used. And so the feedback loop from reality is very, very important. And when it works and you see the impact and everything, it's just the best feeling in the world. Like, I cannot even start to think how Steve Jobs was feeling when he was going to the street and everyone had an iPhone. Like, that must feel great.
Yeah. Something else. Renan, how do you decide what factories to go to? What does that process look like?
Yep. So we have buckets of maturity of factories. So 9% are like almost tech companies, 15% are but getting there, 35% are asking themselves questions but not really getting there, and the rest is just lost for the cause. So we actively call the factories and we say to them, hey, we're this group of technologies. Do you want us to go to the factory? It's free. We look at the opportunities with AI and everything. But then we say, hey, just a few questions. If they are in the loss for the cause category, we just hook them up with like people we know and like consultants and everything. And we don't go to the factory because nothing will come out of this factory. So we only go to the other ones. And then at the other ones, we typically tell them, okay, we studied your P&L. We did like 1-2 days on the shop floor. Here are 6 things that you could do. And we are not interested in like 4 of those because it's not venture scale, it's not 10x, but it's good for the shop floor. So we think you should do it and here is how to do it. And there's that thing We like it a lot. And so if you want, we put a bunch of geeks on your shop floor and it's free until it works. And so that's how we start every single company.
Very interesting. Are there other firms doing this type of work in this same way to where like whether it's hard tech or maybe it's on the software side in some way? I don't know.
Yeah.
Any others that are similar?
So in the world, there are roughly 600 venture builders. So same business as mine. There are 3 operating in the manufacturing space, one in Japan, one in Germany, and us. There are like 10 or 15 doing hardware things and everything. And so an interesting stat is that there are more medicines that have been invented by studios, venture builders, than by other type of companies. And so in the healthcare environment, it works very well. And so maybe the most famous studio is Sutter Ventures. It's based in California. It created that little company called Snowflake. And
little company.
Yeah, little company. And they are like us, they are builders. It's a like 20 people team. And they are building in a different space. They are building in the database space, but they're really good at it. And it's a very tough business model because, well, if it doesn't work, you get zero.
Yeah.
But then when it works, it's pretty great. And usually it's created by people who already started and exited the company, like 90% of the cases.
Yeah. So we talked about more of the founders, on the technology side.
Yep.
If you're giving some advice to a manufacturer that's already up and running, maybe you're working with them, maybe you're not. What's the advice look like for this point in time right now?
So I have a lot of conversation with manufacturing leaders and I love them to death. The first one is don't get bullshitted by the tech guys. If you don't understand what they are doing in plain terms, just don't do it. Like sometimes manufacturing leaders tell me, we love to work with your teams because what you say is very simple. Mm-hmm. And so if it's not simple, just don't do it. Like I've seen horror stories of manufacturing people like paying 5 million, 10 million on some like kind of like data governance project that is supposed to do what the hell are you talking about? Like my team and I, we're putting AI to do auto quotes. That's that. And so manufacturing leaders should have faith in themselves and be bold enough to say, okay, I only buy things that I understand. And so don't bullshit me with the big quotes about things that I don't understand. I'm not sure are bringing value to my factory. That would be the first thing. The second thing is it's better to do 2 to 3 extremely big things well than launch like 60 projects. And I've spoken with a manufacturing guy and he said to me, yeah, I did a training for people to prompt. And then I paid like 60K per month to Microsoft so people can ask questions. It was like, those people were already using AI at home. And what's the P&L return of that? And I was saying, I was like, okay, you have 120 people in your research and development department. What if they were doing 4 times more projects per year? What would be the P&L impact of that? They're like, huge. I'm like, okay, so let's do that and not the other one. And so, yeah, it's hard to be a manufacturing leader because you don't know tech. And so you have that like kind of, I don't understand, so I'm not supposed to ask, to not look like a fool or whatever. No, ask, probe, don't get sold by very good sellers selling basically vaporware. Just go to the shop floor, identify 1, 2, 3 big things, move your P&L and do the thing. Like that's really the thing.
That's great. We've gone through a fair amount. Anything that I should have asked you or anything you want to touch on?
I would say, what will our relationship with China and the supply chain look like in a few years?
Yeah.
The one word answer is bad. It's going to get worse, but it's going to be awesome for American manufacturing. And we'll come out better from this and we'll produce the things that we use. And it will be cool.
Definitely hear a lot about that over the last several years, but especially the last 12 to 24 months, right?
Yep.
You've been so kind to share about your journey and OSS's mission. What do you want those you have worked with to say about your impact on them, Renan?
I'm not sure I have any need for them to talk about me, but I would like them to say, hey, we accelerated that change of the world that was needed, and we created a lot of very good paying job, and the world is a better place. Our production model is better because of all those things that we did.
When it comes to systems, can you give me your philosophy to close us out here on what do you think about systems? Like, how can any leader in any business use systems to really drive change in a positive way?
I think any company, any group of people, any tech piece, any machine, everything is a system. And systems are usually complicated and they have a lot of their internal logic. And systems are usually tailored to their environment. And so, for example, the typical American factory is tailored for supply chain is easy. China will provide me with cheap parts and like a lot of other things. So when you change the environment, sometimes the systems is not performing because it was good for the last environment but not the new. And so I would advise, like that's what I try to do. I try to understand deeply why is the system like that and what it was optimizing for, and what are the things that were true but are not true anymore, or what are the things that are true but won't be true in a few. When you get that, then you can look at the system and look for the pressure points, saying, okay, if I change just that, then everything changed. Like when I was a young consultant, one of my best things was there was a lot of like things to be done in a company. It was very complex and everything. And I interviewed like dozens of people. And at the end, I said to the CEO, you know what? I think you should change the compensation system in that company. We changed the compensation system, and in 6 months, like every single result was green, because just people were incentivized to do double the salary if they do the right thing. So you don't have to put like processes or whatever. People will just do their best to reach that, and so it's kind of a lot easier than rewriting every single process in a big code.
Sure. Renan, how can listeners best find you or follow you in your mission?
Yep. So head to OSS.Ventures. I'm live on Twitter also. And I have a shout out and an ask. If you are a factory director in the US and you want to change your operations with AI, just give us a call. It's free. You'll get geeks and very good coders to your shop floor. And it's free until it works. And if you're a founder and you want to change the way that we are producing things here in the West, then give us a call because we could do something together.
Very nice. Renan Devillieres, OSS Ventures. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Take care.